because I think it's very obvious that our relationships with other people pretty much coincide with the relationships that we have with ourselves.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. And the reason I started this podcast is just because I want to kind of reach out to the people that are maybe suffering in silence. They don't really know who to talk to or how to start the conversation or how to even put words to the feelings that they're feeling. So I just kind of want to be able to have these open and authentic, like kind of just raw conversations where I basically just talk about what I've been going through or maybe some of my friends have been going through, and just hope that maybe I can help someone else by giving them that perspective. Or maybe you guys can share your perspective and what you think could help me out. And so recently I was talking to a friend of mine. We actually, we were just chatting over Messenger, like over Facebook Messenger, and we are just talking back and forth about maybe some issues that he's been going through recently. And, he is, a little bit coming back into the real world after this whole last couple of years. He's a little bit anxious, he's a little bit nervous, kind of just a little bit uneasy thinking about some of the friendships or the relationships that he has right now. And I mean, I kind of really relate to this because I've dealt with, kind of putting my own validation or self-worth on kind of the relationships that I hold around me or the people that I have around me. And so what he was expressing was basically something similar to that. He was feeling like a little bit uneasy about some of the social connections that he has because he wasn't really 100% confident that the connections that he has with people or the relationships that he has with people are, he's kind of uneasy or feeling a little bit less confident that these people want to have connections with him. So he's kind of maybe having a little bit of doubt in terms of his value in the relationship or what he has to offer. Perhaps, I'm not 100% sure because we haven't fully talked about it yet. But before I kind of even replied to him, I was kind of thinking about types of relationships that we have with people and how we can kind of develop our relationships in general. Because I think it's very obvious that our relationships with other people pretty much coincide with the relationships that we have with ourselves. If we have, kind of toxic relationships all the time with the people around us, or it's kind of an uneven amount of give and take, then we're probably going to have similar relationships with ourselves as well. And so basically the best way I could kind of explain this with my friend as well is I was talking about, thinking about developing your relationships is kind of like digging holes. And so I wanted to share this kind of idea with you guys as well and see what you think about this. I've heard kind of renditions of this before, but this, to my knowledge, was the first time that I've kind of thought of or heard of this before. So I wanted to share this metaphor with you. So I was thinking about it in terms of expanding your relationships. And when you're digging a hole, which I've done multiple times working in construction, there's really two ways to expand a hole or to dig a hole, right? And that's either digging it wider or digging it deeper. And so for those of you watching the video, that's an easier kind of form of imagery. But if you're just listening to the episode, then just imagine basically if you're wanting to expand your relationships, it's the exact same thing as if you were to expand a hole that you're digging. You can concentrate on kind of digging around the perimeter of the entire hole and thus making it wider, or you can focus your energy and focus obviously your efforts on making this hole deeper. But just understand that you can only really focus on one thing at a time. You can really only focus on making it wider or deeper, and our relationships work the exact same way. We can focus on expanding and widening our relationships, or basically getting more and more friends. You're widening your pool of friends, or you can focus on making those connections a lot deeper. And so you obviously can't spend your time doing both things at once. So both have their pros and cons, but you have to understand what you're spending your energy on and what you actually want. You know, a lot of us, especially myself early on in my life, I was spending a lot of my time trying to widen my friend group. I was trying to get more and more friends because I thought that that would make me feel better. But I realized that, you know, I never really had a deep connection with a lot of these people that I was spending my time with. And that made me kind of question myself, maybe kind of question if people wanted to kind of have a deeper or more meaningful relationship with me. And I realized that I wasn't spending effort on making my connections deeper with these people. I was just expanding my friend groups. And like I said, both things are going to be beneficial for you, but you have to understand what it is you're looking for and what it is that you're spending your time doing. And also understand that just like when digging a hole, the wider and wider you dig your hole, or the wider and wider you make your friend group, you know, the harder it is to make the entire thing as deep as you want it to be, right? That you can dig the center down as deep as you want, but you know, like when you're digging a hole, it kind of has this weird grade to it, right? Towards the perimeter, towards the edge, maybe it's deeper, maybe it's more shallow at that point. And so your relationships are going to be the exact same. And I think that that's kind of the perfect way to finish off this metaphor and to finish off this episode, right? Is that it's perfectly fine to have different areas of your life or different relationships of your life at different depths. You just have to understand, again, take inventory and take a look at the connections that you have in your life, right? Are the connections that you have as deep as you want them to be? Do you want certain connections to be a little bit more deep and more impactful in your life? Or do you want other connections to be kind of, maybe not pushed to the side, but just kept where it's appropriate? You kind of have to take a look at this. And again, it's something that, like everything else I talk about, it takes a little bit of self-reflection, but it's worthwhile doing, because you have to always, in my opinion, you know, a lot of the times we can put our efforts into a lot of different things and not understand how that's going to impact our lives. And we never actually take inventory sometimes of, you know, where we actually want to be, or what we want our relationships to look like, whether that's an intimate or a romantic relationship, or maybe it's just one of your buddies, or maybe it's a family member, right? But take a second to think about, you know, how deep do you want those relationships to be? And think about what kind of actions or efforts you're putting into making those relationships to the depth that you want them to be. So that's pretty much it. I think that's a good way to wrap this episode up, because I think that's a pretty complete concept in and of itself. So if you guys have anything to add to that, my digging holes metaphor in terms of relationships and how you can make them wider or deeper, and kind of how you should focus your efforts on that. If you guys have any questions about that, if you have any suggestions about that, or any different ways of thinking about it, please do let me know. If you're watching the video version of this, my Instagram will be at the bottom of the screen here, so you can check it out right there. If you're listening to the audio version, it's at Mark D. Henriksen. Please do reach out to me and DM me. Let me know what you think. If you wanted to join my community in regards to the conversations that we kind of have a group chat going right now. We meet up every weekend as well, or every bi-weekly weekend, or yeah, I'm sure we're just going to move it to weekly. So yeah, I'm going to say we chat every week, you know, on Saturday mornings about mental health, self-development, and just kind of the struggles we're going through. We offer each other different perspectives. I actually try and do a little bit less talking than I do on this podcast. So you guys can just become a part of that community. If you want to be, just reach out to me and let me know. So that's all I've got for today. If I entertained you, if I made you think about something a little bit differently, if I, gave you a new perspective or added some value into your life, share the show and help me grow. Thank you so much. Much love and peace out.